Hey everyone, it's Irene Lyon. Welcome to this video, to this channel, and to this entire world of healing trauma, nervous system health, and all things neuroplasticity. I asked my Instagram world a little while ago, what are some questions that you would like me to answer that you haven't seen me answer? And thank you for your asks, your questions. One of them caught my eye, and it was something like this. They asked, why are people in certain parts of the world more resilient than others, even under extreme trauma? Now, there's a few reasons for this, and it comes back down to our nervous system, actually, our autonomic nervous system, and how we were raised when we were young. So I'm going to talk about just the general aspects of self-regulation and learning self-regulation when we're young. The other factor that plays in from what I've seen is cultures, societies that have more connection, more family time, more ritual, where people sing and dance, they eat together, right? There's just more of that family connection, and it's healthy. And then the other that is not my expertise, but I see this occur, and there's sort of trends that I see, is having a deep connection to spirit, to source, to the universe. That could be it's usually through some form of faith, where a person is really connected to something beyond them. And when I hear of stories of folks who have gone through incredible extreme trauma, typically shock traumas, war, abuse, famine, torture, all these sorts of things, they will say that it was my faith, it was my prayer, it was the God that I believe in that kept me going. So I wanted to mention that. I won't speak any more to it, but this is something that we know is quite common and can help people. Now, to go back to the first thing I mentioned, the autonomic nervous system, it's actually quite simple, and I've done other videos on this, so I'm going to post some of the deeper theory near this video. But when we are born as a human being, we are not able to self-regulate. We have to learn through a caregiver, through the parents, through the older people around us who are more mature, how to soothe our system. So there's a portion of our nervous system that isn't quite created and built up yet, which is part of our parasympathetic nervous system. It's part of the ventral branches of our parasympathetic nervous system, the social engagement portion. And so when we're born, this isn't fully myelinated. So the nerves, the vagus nerve, that is the parasympathetic nervous system, that goes to the heart, the face, the inner ear, the pharynx, the larynx, and connects to the muscles of the face, it needs to be primed, it needs to be taught, it needs to be connected with through another human so that we learn how to have these human things: connection, talking, hearing. This is what's called co-regulation with another human that's older, that's more mature. So the infant needs that solid, attuned connection. It's that attunement, that connection, that co-regulation that builds up and creates a healthy autonomic nervous system that can self-regulate, that can feel stress, feel threat, take it in, process it, and then come out of a stress response. The healthier our co-regulation and attunement and connection and secure attachment is to our primary caregivers. It doesn't have to be a mother. It could be an older sibling, a nanny, a grandma, a grandpa, an uncle, an aunt, the babysitter, whatever it might be. The healthier that is, and the healthier they are, and the more they connect to us as infants, us as the infant, we build up a very strong, robust autonomic nervous system that can self-regulate. What that means is that when we are older, when we are in our childhood years, our teenage years, our adult years, when there is a stress, when there is a traumatic event, and as this person asked or said, people with extreme trauma, why are they just more resilient? It's because of this. There was a solidity that allowed that robustness to build, that resiliency within the autonomic nervous system, so that when these things occur, their system isn't staying spiked. Now, of course, there are exceptions. If someone is constantly in a stressful situation, if that trauma, that stress, that natural disaster, that war, that famine, the torture, the abuse, if it doesn't end for a very long time, there will still be PTSD, even complex PTSD, that these individuals might get. But, or I should say, and their baseline is still there. You can't get rid of that myelination that occurred when you were an infant, when you were building your nervous system. But the system that is strong and regulated can get broken down. A person can still get PTSD even when they've had early regulation that was really solid and strong. But, it's like, which word do I use there? They can also end up with PTSD, but their capacity to heal, my hunch, my guess is it's that much stronger because that baseline blueprint was already built. They know what it is inherently in their physiology. They know what safety feels like because they were brought up with it. You take a culture, a society where that didn't happen, where safety was not the norm, where connection with a solid, attached adult that honors sensation and feeling and emotion and vitality and expression. You take a culture, a society, a country, I'm generalizing here, but where they're not honoring those little humans and teaching them really good co-regulation, which is giving them self-regulation. You take that situation, which is so common, and then the system is not regulated. You put them into a stressful situation. They don't have the same resiliency. They don't bounce back in the same way because that initial wiring wasn't there. I talk about this a little deeper in my Healing Trauma series. So if you haven't yet checked out my 3-part Healing Trauma video series, please watch that, especially the first video. It's a free series. Check it out. I go through a few more examples as to why one person will have the exact same trauma and walk away just fine, and another person will have the exact same trauma and walk away and they will be a disaster. And it comes down to this baseline regulation of the autonomic nervous system. Now, the good news, because there is good news, is if we were the person or we were in that situation where we didn't have the solid wiring, we didn't have that good connection, that good co-regulation that taught us resiliency and safety, as adults, we can build that back. So that is very important to understand. If you're watching this video, if you're able to read and write and feed yourself and clothe yourself and live in society in the way that you are, you have got the capacity to rewire and grow back internal cellular safety. This is what I teach through my programs and my courses. So if you haven't checked those out, please do so. Again, I'll link them below so that you can check those out. But basically, to go back to the original thesis of this question, which is why are some societies, cultures, countries better at handling extreme trauma and stress? It comes down to these things: how the autonomic nervous system was wired in the first place, the community and connection that those societies, cultures, countries have, which funnels, right? So if there's healthy wiring in that parent-child relationship, chances are it's a healthy community. And then the third thing is having some kind of connection to a higher energy, a higher God, a higher force that is beyond us, that we can connect to, that we can resource to, that keeps us grounded, that keeps us tethered to the here and now. All right, thank you so much for this question, the person who asked it. I hope this has been useful. I hope this has given you all a little more insight into how we humans navigate stress and trauma. We will see you next time.